Do Trump sycophants actually believe Trump's big lie? We know they certainly like telling we know they certainly like telling pollsters that they do. Um, the 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 latest polling from Monmouth University shows that 63% of the Republican voters, continue to insist that Joe Biden only won the 2020 election fraud because of voter fraud, which isn't true. He won fair and square. Get the fuck over it. Um, but is this something that they really believe, or something that they simply say out of troubleless loyalties, because they believe that repeating the lie is useful justification for the Republican war on voting? On Sunday night, we got strong evidence that, for the most part, Republican voters understand that the big lie is indeed just that, a lie. They just repeat it because they view themselves as co-conspirators in perpetuating it. In his Klan speech at the second annual Conservatard Political Action Conference of the year, Trump bragged about how he lies about polls and an election when he doesn't win them. You know, they do that straw poll, right? Trump said, referring to the 2024 the Republican nominee straw poll that CPAC conducted of attendees. If it's bad, I say it's fake. If it's good, I say that's the most accurate poll perhaps ever. The humor of this not actually a joke is due to being a sly reference to the big lie, an admission on Trump's part that he didn't win in 2020, and is merely saying that he won otherwise for political gain. And it's no surprise that Trump went there. He loves to brag about how much corruption and crime he can get away with. Um, what is perhaps more important is the audience reaction to this not a joke. Trump got a huge laugh from the CPAC crowd, despite the death and destruction that the big lie has already caused. As the clip went viral, there was no outraged reaction from the Republican voters, and no anger that he lies to them in order to enlist their support for an authoritarian coup. Um, the Trump sycophants aren't mad about Trump admitting that he lied to them for one simple reason. They don't think that they're the ones being lied to. They think that they're in on it. They know why the big lie has been propped up, first to justify Trump's failed coup, and now for the ongoing efforts by the Republicans to steal the next election. They see themselves as co-conspirators and thus knowingly laugh at this in-joke about the conspiracy. But just because the typical GOP sycophant thinks the Republican sycophant thinks he's in on the con, doesn't mean that he's not a dupe. On the contrary, Trump and other Republican leaders deeply understand the adage that you can't cheat an honest man. Letting the Republican sycophants believe that they're in on the authoritarian schemes is the way that Trump and other leaders trick these folks into being their pawns. This was clearly illustrated by another disgusting moment at the CPAC over the weekend when Berenson, Berenson, an anti-vaccination conspiracy theorist, celebrated his success at persuading so many Republican Americans to reject, actually, I would call them Republican un-Americans, to reject the shots that have otherwise been proven successful at safely preventing the COVID-19 vaccination. The government was hoping that they could sort of sucker 90% of the population into getting vaccinated. Berenson said, and that isn't happening. He's one of a handful of dumbasses who have been saying for months, as Brian Butler of the Crooked Media noted in his latest newsletter, that the Republicans would try to sabotage recovery from the plague under a Democratic president. But in his view, every transmission, every hospitalization, and every death is a victory because it keeps COVID-19 in the news, and then denies Biden his ability to say that he beat it. And if they have to use their own bodies to make this happen, well, so fucking be it. And that may sound paranoid, but as Butler points out, these are the same conservatard sycophants who sought to destabilize the Affordable Care Act. The marketplace has been encouraging young people to forego health insurance altogether and to accept enormous personal risk for the good of the larger goal of damaging the Obama presidency and discrediting government for the common good. But killing people, and even their own people, is seen as acceptable price to pay for their welfare or the warfare. Again, what is telling the crowd's reaction at CPAC is that the cheers and applause, they were thrilled at their success at trying to undermine Biden's goals, and they were delighted that case counts are rising in red areas in the county, or in the country, basically. This reaction shows that for conservatives, refusing the vaccine is really more about being part of a larger war to undermine Biden's presidency, and not so much the result of sincere concerns about the vaccine's safety. Of course, refusing the vaccine means offering your body up to a virus that can be extremely brutal and often ends up deadly. But conservatards are too tickled by getting one over on Biden to pay attention to the fact that they're ones taking the serious physical risks. And once again, the best grift works by convincing the mark that they're part of the con. The martyrization of Ashley Babbitt is the grossest and most obvious version of this. Babbitt's history of online delusion suggests that she may have been one of the rare right-wingers who was really duped by the fucking big lie. Either way, she's dead now, and it's all Trump's fault because he's the one who incited the insurrection that led to Babbitt dying. But Trump, who's a sociopath to the core, shows no remorse and doesn't fucking give a shit. Instead, he's cynically exploiting her death, a death that he basically caused by propping her up as a martyr to convince others to follow in her footsteps and die for the big lie. Most of the Trump sycophants who have started to venerate Babbitt as their own horse vessel know full well that they are gaslighting when they claim that she was an innocent victim shot in cold blood. Her death was taped from multiple angles, making it quite clear that she was shot because she was attempting to lead a charge to run down the clearly visible fleeing congressional members. But they repeat the lie about her innocence again and again because most of them view themselves as part of the propaganda effort. But of course, all these self-appointed mini Goebbels are actually patsies. Trump clearly doesn't care or doesn't give a fuck about how many of his sycophants get arrested, shot, or injured on his behalf. As his phony exaltations on Babbitt show, he would just see their losses as his gain, and they would go down for him time and time again, mistakenly thinking that they're Trump's fellow sycophants, never admitting to themselves that he's using them and discarding them like he does everyone else.